There was never a dog. I was driving home. It was a normal day. I get off work at 7 p.m. every day and live only 5 minutes away, so I'm usually walking through my front door by 7:05. The weekends are different. Instead of going home and sleeping, I go home, change, then go pick up my daughter at daycare. And today was the weekend. My daughter was in the back seat. She was talking, like she always did, about her day at daycare, her friends, the playground, everything. I barely listened. Not because I didn't care, but because I was just so damn tired. Every time I leave work, I feel like I'm falling apart. I can barely stay awake. That's why I chose this apartment, just 5 minutes from my job. I get home, crash, and sleep. There was a ladybug today at the playground. My friend Jeremy let me play with his Hot Wheels. I got to pet a cute dog. Delilah said excitedly. Ooh-ha. Yeah. That's nice, I mumbled, half asleep behind the wheel. Over and over like a broken record. That was the first time she mentioned the dog. At the time, I didn't think much of it. But after that, she wouldn't stop talking about it. Every ride, every weekend, she'd bring it up again. This dog she saw and would pet. She'd go on and on about it, telling me I should come see it. Daddy, you should visit the dog someday. Come on. See it. I never liked dogs, I'll admit. They always unsettled me. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's something about their instincts, something I don't fully understand. Or maybe it's from some old, buried trauma I've never really faced. I've always preferred cats. So of course, I just nod and say, someday, Delilah. But deep down, I knew that day would never come. I could never bring myself to go near that dog. One day, after working a double shift, I didn't get home until around 9 p.m. I was completely drained, barely able to keep my eyes open, let alone find the energy to play with my daughter. It was nearly her bedtime anyway. Still, I picked her up from daycare and started the short drive home. Delilah was cheerful as ever, chatting from the back seat about her day. More stories from the playground. More excitement than I could process in my half-asleep haze. Ooh-ha! Was all I could manage. I was just so tired. But then, through the fog of exhaustion, something she said cut through. Daddy, she said softly, almost like it was a secret. The dog followed you home today. I blinked and glanced up at the rearview mirror, meeting her eyes. He was under your car, she added, her voice calm. He was watching us drive. Strange, I thought, but that couldn't be right. When I left work, I didn't see any dogs. The roads were empty. Then it hit me. Delilah had been at daycare all day. She wasn't with me, so how could she have seen a dog following me? I brushed it off as a kid, just making up stories for attention, and went on with the day. By morning, it was Monday. Her mom always picks her up before I head to work, so she was already gone by the time I got back. My apartment felt too quiet. I missed my daughter, living with her full-time. But her mother and I just couldn't make things work. Too many arguments. Too much distance. Still, I won't lie. Sometimes I envied my life before I became a father. The freedom, the extra income, the quiet. But I loved Delilah. That was never in question. I often had to fight just to get more days with her, more time to hold on to something good. It makes me feel sick to even think it. How could I feel that way when all she ever did was love me? The week passed by as usual. Nothing strange, nothing out of the ordinary. I was just looking forward to the weekend. Looking forward to seeing my daughter again. By Friday, I was too tired to think, just counting the hours. But something was off. Normally, I come home, collapse on the couch, and fall asleep without thinking. But that night, I felt restless. Not alert, not awake, just unable to settle. Like something was buzzing beneath my skin. So I decided to keep myself busy. Chores, anything to fill the silence. I stepped outside to take out the trash. It was already dark. The air was cold and damp, thick in that way that makes even familiar places feel eerie, distorted, like the world had gone just a little sideways. I walked slowly with the bag, lifted the lid of the trash bin with one hand, ready to toss it in, when I heard it, a sound I hadn't heard in years, but instantly recognized. Claws. The soft click-clack of claws on concrete, heavy, deliberate, like something large was approaching. I froze. My heart skipped. I turned toward the sound. Nothing. Just shadows stretching across the driveway. But I felt it, that cold, crawling sensation on the back of my neck. Then the sound again. Closer this time. By my car. I snapped my head around toward it, and there it was. A shape, a shadow tucked low beneath the frame. I couldn't see it clearly at first, but I knew it was there. Watching. Still. Waiting. I squinted, slowly crouched, and leaned down to get a better look. My chest tightened. My breath caught in my throat. A dog? As I'd suspected, sort of. It was under my car. But something was wrong. His body was just slightly off, too long, too still. Its legs were bent at unnatural angles, as if it hadn't moved in hours. And its eyes, dark, glassy, soulless, like two lumps of coal staring back at me. It didn't blink. It didn't growl. It just stared. I stepped back and immediately muttered to myself, "Great. Not a dog. Ugh." It was the way it stared at me, like it wanted something, like it was trying to make me understand. Food, water, tension, too bad. Annoyed, I grabbed a bucket near the trash bin and hurled it toward the car. "Shoo! Get outta here!" I shouted. The thing scrambled out from under the vehicle with unnatural speed, legs moving wrong, too quick for something that size. It bolted into the street, but right as it hit the middle of the road, it seemed to go limp for just a second, collapsing. Then it started crawling again, dragging itself across the asphalt until it disappeared into the bushes on the other side. I huffed, shaking my head, and went back to finishing the trash. God, I was so sick of stray animals around here, always causing problems, digging through garbage, darting into traffic, spreading disease. Just a nuisance. TSK. But as I turned to head back inside, something stuck with me. The way it crawled. That moment when it went limp in the street, then dragged itself across the pavement with jerky, unnatural movements. I had seen it before somewhere, I didn't know where or when. It clung to the edge of memory like a dream I wasn't ready to remember. But I knew it. That crawl. That limp. That moment where something living moves like it shouldn't. I swallowed hard, shook my head and told myself I was just tired. After all, I had probably seen it in a horror movie or something. The next morning, I had completely forgotten about the dog. Brushed it off like a weird dream, nothing worth remembering. I went about my day like normal. Drove to work, endured another horrible, long, exhausting shift, then came home just long enough to change out of my uniform before heading to the daycare to pick up Delilah. As I pulled up to the school, I rolled down my window to wave at her. She ran up smiling, laughing, full of that boundless energy I just couldn't match. I forced a smile and unlocked the door. "Have a good day, kiddo?" I asked, not even with enough energy to lift my voice out of its flat, monotone drag. She nodded eagerly. "Yeah." It was great. I played with Jeremy again. Me and Michelle pretended to be part of a wolf pack. We made up stories under the playground. Ah, that's cute, I thought. But then, without changing tone or expression, she added, "And the dog came back today." "Ooh-ha!" I mumbled, almost on instinct. Then it registered. My body tensed. "Dog? What dog?" I asked even though I already knew. Delilah tilted her head, puzzled that I'd even question it. Your dog. The one that sleeps under your car. He's always waiting for you, Daddy. I blinked at her. My throat tightened. Delilah? I said slowly, trying to keep my voice steady. There is no dog. I think you're just imagining things, sweetheart. She just smiled back at me like she knew something I didn't. He told me he's not mad anymore. He just wants you to come see him. I looked straight ahead and gripped the steering wheel a little too tightly. My palms had started to sweat. That's enough with the dog stuff, okay? I muttered, trying to sound annoyed instead of afraid. It's not funny, okay? And don't pet that dog anymore. In fact, if you see it, leave it alone and pretend it's not there. Delilah looked at me, then lowered her head and began softly humming a sweet tune to herself in the back seat. I could feel a hint of sadness in her. She didn't say anything, but I could tell. She was disappointed that I didn't care about the dog. Disappointed that I wanted her to stop talking about it. Like I'd ruined something important. Something only she understood. I know kids love animals, but that dog clearly had rabies or something. The way it moved, the way it watched, it wasn't right. I didn't want Delilah getting too close. I didn't want her getting sick, or worse. And if it really had been under my car, I could have hit it without even knowing. Just thinking about that made me stomach turn. We drove home in silence. It was only a 5-minute ride, but the quiet made it feel like much longer, thick and uncomfortable, like the air had changed. And in that silence, my thoughts started spiraling. He's not mad at you anymore. Was she talking about when I shooed it away? When I threw the bucket at it? That had only happened last night, and I didn't tell anyone about that. There were no neighbors outside, so how did she know? I glanced at her in the mirror. She was still silently humming to herself. She couldn't have known about that. We got home like usual. I unlocked the door and held it open for Delilah. She hopped out of the car, clutching her stuffed animal tight, her mood shifting again back to joy. She was already bouncing with excitement, happy to be home, talking about which toys she wanted to play with first. Although I couldn't shake the unease. I kept telling myself it was nothing, just a kid being a kid, probably making things up. Or maybe I just hadn't really listened to what she said earlier. I was tired. That was all. Just tired. That's what I told myself. Naively, maybe even desperately, as I followed her inside and shut the door behind us. She ran inside shouting, "Yay!" Started rummaging through her toy box. I let out a sigh and began taking my coat off. I hung it on the rack, then began walking over to the kitchen, ready to get myself some coffee. Then I saw them, wet paw prints, across the tile, leading in from the door and disappearing into the hallway. Too large for a cat, and they weren't just muddy, but damp, like whatever made them came in out of nothing, like it never should have been there to begin with. No starting point from anywhere in particular. I stared, frozen. My breath caught in my throat. I began slowly following the footsteps, and in the middle of the hallway was Delilah's stuffed animal. Not the one she walked in with. Another one I actually haven't seen in a while. It was dirty, matted with grime, like it had been buried somewhere. The fur was damp and discolored, and one of the eyes was missing. I stared at it, confused. Then I heard it again. From somewhere down the hall, I heard the low sound of claws dragging across wood. Click, click, click. Then it stepped out, just for a moment. From the edge of the hallway, half lit by the warm glow spilling from the kitchen light, it emerged.